Afternoon. Try that. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of Osoyoos Town Council, Monday, November the 22nd at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Council Chambers. The first item of business would be the adoption of the minutes, regular open minutes from November the 1st for adoption. Councilor Rhodes, Councilor Chadsey, all in favor, opposed, carried. Any business arising from the prior minutes? None. We'll be looking at the introduction of the late items, and this would be council meeting reports for Councilors Chadsey, Ryan, and Rhodes, and Cronmiller? No, I think you were in the original one. That's right. So adding Councilors Chadsey, Ryan, and Rhodes as part of the agenda item there. Council as amended. Agenda as amended. Councilor Ryan, Councilor Cronmiller, all in favor, opposed, thank you. The next item then would be delegations, and it's very, very nice to have Staff Sergeant Kurt Lazinski's here giving us his quarterly report, although it seems like you've been away for more than a quarter. Great to have you here.
Thank you. I've submitted the overview of our regional detachment to yourselves, but I think if you just want to turn to page 12, it speaks of Oliver and Osoyoos Integrated Detachment. If you've had a chance to review some of the other areas, I can certainly answer some of those questions, but this more reflects our community, which I'm sure you're more wanting to hear about. This report will encompass July, August, September of this year. We had a slight increase of about 3% this year in calls for service. We had 1,980 calls for service this year as opposed to the 1,920 calls last year. Not really sure why or what we can really respond to increase, but we've had some prolific offenders that created a lot of work for us this summer, which I'll speak to later in my report that pertain to break and enters and such as that. Drug enforcement is still one of our main priorities within both communities. As you can see, in total, 26 drug offenses were investigated during this period, 13 in both communities. We're focusing, of course, on our more heavier drugs, our harder drugs such as cocaine, but of course we're still targeting marijuana grow operations such as that. We have a GIS, a General Investigation Section, which has been developed and is now stationed out of the Oliver office. This is a 3-man unit. They're responsible for a number of calls within the regional detachment from Princeton all the way to Summerland. However, we benefit the most from it, but obviously having that situated in our community. Their main target, it seems these days, which they're being very effective, is our drug enforcement. They're working tremendous successes. They've just started, so we didn't see them. We didn't have them necessarily over the summer months, or we probably would have seen more of an increase in some of this. A lot of these things, of course, defaulted to general duty investigation. For often, because we had such significant human resource shortages this summer, we weren't able to get to some of the units that we perhaps wanted to. So we're really pleased to have this drug enforcement GIS unit. They're obviously, all of us are working hard on our street checks, our prolific offenders. We want to deal with whatever drug issues within both communities. We have enforcement nights. Now that we still only have one person off on long-term ODS, which is great. During the summer, we had as many as 6. So we're getting back at the full complement of individuals. We'd like to start our enforcement nights again. A lot of times, these enforcement nights, we have a lot of individuals on probation, very strict conditions living within our community. We want to ensure that we hold these people accountable. So during our enforcement nights, we ensure that we target these individuals, those that aren't complying with their conditions. A number of other issues. Traffic safety is still a priority within our community as well. It notes here that we only had one impaired driver charged in Oliver, which I find hard to believe. So I went back through today, and I think it was just a typo. We actually had 10 impaired drivers charged in Oliver and 8 in the Osoyoos area. Now, of course, with the IRP, the roadside prohibitions, we're going to see an increase in probably a number of those. We had, being they just came in September, October of this year, we don't have a lot of stats to compare from last year to this year. But as you know, through the media, there's been some changes brought in for that program already. Some of the issues that came about were the warning on our roadside screening devices. So what they have is they brought the 2,200 ASDs within the province have gone back in for testing to ensure that they're calibrated properly so everybody gets a fair shake at. So through the public outcry, that's what traffic sections have decided to do. We're still targeting this year. We want to target back to our school zones, crosswalks. I was hoping to have some information for everybody today. Our citizens on patrols have agreed to assist us in some of our crosswalks. I wanted them to sit and get an idea of how many people are being affected. Of course, now that it's colder, we don't have many people out on foot. But it's certainly something that I want to target with enforcement. I think we've done a number of media profiles in this area. I've had a number of complaints from the citizens, so that's certainly one of the priorities that we want to start again is our crosswalk enforcement. We continue to take part in a lot of our special events within the communities, whether it's Canada Day, of course, in July and all the rest of it. And again, we have a very active, very effective Citizens on Patrol group. They do a great job for us, and they're instrumental in assisting our eyes and ears within the communities, and they've assisted in a number of different files that we've had to work on. As I spoke to about prolific and chronic nuisance offenders, we don't have that many in Oliver during this period. However, we did have at least 2 in the Osoyoos area. One young individual of note, he has generated a lot of calls for service for us, and we deal with him almost on a daily basis. So we're looking at other support groups, getting a lot of interest from these support groups. And then as I spoke to earlier about the break and enters, we did arrest an individual a while back that was responsible for at least 17 of the break and enters. He ended up getting 3 years in jail. So he's now sitting in facility. It's unfortunate that he had to affect a number of people, but it's good that we did eventually catch him. He belongs to get the help that he needs. Crime Stoppers is still very active in our communities. During this reporting period, we had 1 tip to Oliver and 1 to a very effective program. We usually have a dozen to 20 a year from individuals. Again, it's anonymous, very effective. We have a great program that we fully support, and we'd like to see more of it. This year, we have established our school liaisons for our high schools, both in Oliver and Osoyoos. We've identified our members responsible for those areas. I'd like to see them spend a lot more time in those high-risk areas. I want them to get to know the kids, walk around those schools, and be an effective presence with the youth. I think that's one of the areas. I spoke to Paul at the Osoyoos Times, and he's, I think, doing an article this year or this week on youth in our community. I think there's a real appetite for our community to deal with our high-risk youth, something that we need to do within our community. Right now, there's probably between 12 and 20 youths within our community alone, being Osoyoos, that are causing a lot of problems. I think they're just wayward. They're not going to school. They don't have a lot of support groups at home. And again, we deal with them. It seems to be because of our weather, of course, not this week, but more often than not, our weather is a little bit nicer surrounding areas. So a lot of them seem to come in from other areas, Penticton, Grand Forks area, migrate to our areas and couch surf. And these guys are the ones that are doing the crime, breaking into cars, things like that. So people have to be aware. It's funny, I'll walk around the community and see what people leave on their front seat of their vehicles. And we are a small town, but when you leave your purses, laptops, and wallets and things like that in your front seat of your vehicle, unlocked vehicle, things are probably going to happen. And so I just want to get that message back out to the community that you got to protect yourselves and start taking care of and locking your things up. So Those are things that we want to look at. A number of us are involved in our PACs, our parent advisory groups within our schools, myself included. And our restorative justice is up and running in Oliver. It's been pretty effective. It says here 3 files, but that was during that reporting period. We've certainly sent over a number of other ones. It's something that we want to start again, perhaps here in the Osoyoos area as well. Restorative is just an alternative measures that we can deal with first-time offenders, so that we can, instead of going to the court systems, we different alternative measures, and probably a little bit quicker and more effective. So I'm a big advocate for those as well. So that's basically the narrative portion of my report. The area stats, as you can see, some of our I guess it is up there. Green and red is some of the increases in some of our areas. But again, of course, this is during our peak summer seasons where we have a lot of tourists in town. So some of the assaults and some of the mischiefs and things like that are not necessarily a trend, but certainly what's happened with an influx of people from different communities coming in here drinking and getting involved in problems. So all in all, we're tackling the situation the best we can. Like I said, it's good that we got our human resources, our resources back up to pretty much full strength. The only unfortunate thing is our support staff feel it. Our girls, we had the addition of the 3 GIS unit, which has done great work, but it's increased the workload for our public servants. They're feeling a little bit like to see. I open up the floor to for discussions.
Great. Thanks for your report, Staff Sergeant Lazinski. I'll open up one, and I don't mean to put you on the spot at all, and I'm sure you've answered it previously, but when we're looking at the new drinking driving approach from the Ministry of Highways as opposed to the court system, how do you interpret what the Solicitor General said, on TV and through the media about some drinking is okay and that? I mean, obviously that really doesn't have a lot of weight as far as enforcement goes. Could you just, because I think a lot of people are having questions with what that really means out there.
Absolutely. What I hear a lot of is a lot of people saying, "Why can't you have a glass of wine with dinner?" And I know some of the liquor establishments are feeling the pinch and decrease the number of patrons that are attending there. I think the message that we want to get across to people is appropriate and responsible drinking. I'd like to see more people, obviously, their taxi services, walk, or use designated drivers. But I think the message that a lot of people have to realize is that you can have a glass of wine responsibly with dinner. Usually what a lot of the experts and people will say is that you lose 1 drink per hour when you consume. Now, everybody's different. Your body makeup, how much you've eaten, drank, medicines that you're on. But some people tend to forget, and we refer to it as the preload, when you socialize with individuals. A lot of times that you have a couple of drinks before you even leave your home, and all of a sudden you go to your dinner and you have 1 glass of wine. Well, in fact, you've had 3 and 4, but you just choose not to forget. Kind of like when I golf, I only pick the shots that I like. But if you count all of them together, it adds up. So I think people have to realize is that if you drink responsibly, drink 1 glass of wine or spirits per hour, you'll be fine. And so that's, I think, with the messaging that perhaps the Solicitor General is trying to say is that you can drink responsibly. And what they want to do is to target those people that aren't drinking responsibly and make our roads safer.
Great, and thanks for answering that, because as I say, I know there's lots of people wondering, well, what does that really? That helps us. It hasn't really changed anything. You can't be impaired.
Well, and I think the other message that I want to get across is that the levels have not changed over the years. I think just the punishment and the sentence, those things have changed. And I think 0.05 has always been 0.05.
Right.
That's the warn, and 0.08 is always been impaired driving. So those have not changed. So I think people have to kind of get their minds wrapped around.
Okay. Council question? Councilor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome, Staff Lazinski. How are you? I haven't got to see you in a long time, so. A couple of questions. You mentioned Speedwatch. Do we get it here to town very often? I don't recall seeing it, so I just wondered if they use it here or just.
We do, actually. We have actually a brand new radar set sponsored by ACBC. They were out a number of times last year. Of course, it's all contingent on our volunteers and availabilities, and because it's run by a lot of the seniors that go away for the winter months, it's tough to get the numbers that we need when we do need it, when this is when we need it. So I've tasked a number of them to either solicit some more volunteers, and strategically, where do we want to place these? I think we've missed some of the radars, the speed watch during the summers. And I think maybe on Lakeshore and some of those other areas, perhaps we focus a lot on our schools, but in the summer, we can certainly start focusing on other areas of the 9th Ave and stuff like that we can start. And I want to do it in conjunction with a member being there so that people realize that we buy into this program as well. It's not just you can pay by everybody and see how fast you drive, but there's consequences to your actions. If you are driving too aggressively, we will certainly give you a ticket.
Thank you. And one other note I wanted to pass along, because I haven't had an opportunity to speak with you in a while, just to advise you, and I may have gotten out, I don't know, but at the UBCM convention, we met with the Attorney General of the province and as a council and discussed the RCMP and the local issues. I spent some time explaining to the Attorney General and to Kevin Begg, who was doing contract negotiations, some of the issues that we have here with human resources. As you mentioned earlier with various things, I mentioned the fact that we have there's a lot of transfers take place, and they usually are the 1st of July rather than 1st of September, which would benefit to us here, keep a member around a little longer. And then certainly long-term illness, that disabilities that come into play, and how that, to a small detachment, that has a real effect on manpower, particularly in a resort community such as ours, where there's a lot of business in the summertime, and a lot of people here that we'd like to encourage them to have a look at how they use their manpower efficiently in this area particularly. For us, it's really important. And so we kind of went to bat for you, and hopefully that'll mean something. When they talk about contract negotiations, they'll remember us. Keep that in mind. So I wanted to share that with you. We talked about it with them.
Thank you. There's certainly an unprecedented year for shortages this year, and when you do have those years, you certainly feel it. Usually you can handle 1 or 2 vacancies, but when you have as many as 6 or 8 small detachments, it's certainly
Great.
Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Staff Sergeant, good report. And it's nice to see us ourselves in relation to other communities within the region. So
Sure.
That was good to see the whole picture. I'm really happy to hear that you're going to focus. I know you've been trying over the last few years to focus on the safety at the crosswalks, and so that's good. And we did meet with transportation recently after meeting with the minister, and so it again confirms what you know, that when you talk to the minister, suddenly things start happening a little more rapidly. I did have a question as well about the boat patrols. You mentioned in your narrative that the detachment conducted boat patrols and collaborated with the Department of Fisheries. And I just wondered if you could elaborate a little more on that.
Sorry, I missed that portion. Yeah, this year it was, they came out, they asked if they could partner up with ourselves, which is great, because of course with our shortages we weren't able to get on the waterways as much as we wanted to. And what a tremendous success it was, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, they issued some $4,000 worth of fines in those 3 days, and a lot of times the first day was strictly warnings, and it was the same people for the same infractions the next couple of days. So it certainly shows that there is a need for more enforcement on the waterways. And so I submitted a report to the fisheries, and hopefully this becomes a yearly thing where they a couple of times to assist us. They obviously have the area knowledge, or the knowledge of the small vessel regulations and all the rest of it, and we have the area knowledge. So it's a great partnership. So I'd like to see us do a lot more of that. And of course, with the warnings, it could have been as many as $10,000 worth of fines. So we've got to realize that we take this very seriously, our boating, especially in the summertime, of course.
Good. Well, I hope that we will see continued collaboration there.
And I guess one of the successes in that boat program is I understand that there was a noise conviction in there somewhere, which I think if we can ever focus on that one issue alone, I think we can make a lot of people happy.
Absolutely, yes. We were able to target that one individual that was causing all our problems. So,
Okay.
Yeah, he was given a nice fine and he left our area.
Good. Anything further? Hearing none. Well, thanks a lot for coming to see us again. And now that we've got all our manpower requirements looked after, we'll probably see you on a regular basis.
Certainly will.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks a lot, Sergeant Wazinski. Okay, that brings us into water matters and water accounts in the amount of $28,201.10 for approval. Councilor Larangel, Councilor Morera, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That has passed. We can pay our bills. Under correspondence, looking for a resolution for a motion to receive a report from the Okanagan Basin Water Board regarding the November the 4th meeting highlight. Councilor Rhodes, Councilor Chadsey, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And a motion to receive into the minutes a letter sent to the Desert Sun Counseling and Resource Center. They'd asked for a letter of support in one of their applications, and we've sent a letter from our town council and all of our town council supporting that application. So motion to receive, Councilor Ryan Cronmiller, all in favor, opposed, thanks. Bringing us down into, there's no bylaws. Gee, we used to do bylaws here, just had them lined up, but no bylaws this week. So moving into the business section of the meeting, there is council meeting reports, and these are when councilors and mayor are out of town attending conferences or workshops or other business on behalf of the town. And there's reports, I believe, from all of council, which would be Mayor Wells, Councilor Cronmiller, Councilor Ryan, Councilor Rhodes, Councilor Chadsey. So I'd be looking for a motion to pay those. Councilor Cronmiller, Councilor Ryan. I know there's no discussion, but I'm sure we'll be hearing about these in the councilor reports towards the end of the meeting, because it looks like we've been out doing some conferences and that, and I know the ones that I attended were really great. So we'll be hearing those a little bit later. All in favor? Opposed? We can pay the councilors. Next item of business is the gas tax funding. I have a report here from Director of Recreation Leisure Services. Director Davis, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Council. Before you is a report in relation to our gas tax funding that we received. We have been working to get a tender package together for the windows for the replacement at the Sonora Center, and also for the bus that we're going to replace. Right now, what we're looking at is trying to hammer down the type of bus that we're going to get. We have some quotes. And what we have decided to go forward with, unless council wants to do otherwise, is to look at a 16-passenger bus with 2 wheelchair areas. We have been in collaboration with the Senior Center, and they are doing transportation service in the community for more personal visits for people that are part of the Senior Center. And this is something that would fit into our existing policy that we have. Obviously, we'd like to expand to make sure that we do something extra with our bus. But this is the type of bus that we can utilize in our community and to a maximum use. We would also have to go back and look at our policy to make sure that we want to do these kind of things. So before you, we want to make sure that the bus that we choose is what we're going to use.
Great. Thank you. Councilor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I was going over your material, in particular the kind of floor plans of the basic bus layouts, and yeah, I certainly applaud the wheelchair portion of it. I think it's something that's really needed in our community. But so I went online and had a look at their website, and I noticed that all of the power units that they supply with these, none of them appear to be very environmentally safe units, or your typical large block engine, and would be up there probably in the category of being the least efficient engines that you can get. And couldn't help but notice that the Chrysler Corporation has a 16-passenger bus with different configurations and have many different options with regard to the power of which one is a hybrid unit. And additionally, they also have a small diesel unit that powers an electrical small generating unit that you can transfer into power that will actually drive the bus. And I noticed that that wasn't in your report at all. I know you made a little bit of a reference to it, but I think in this time in our world when we're all faced with reducing our carbon footprint, particularly in our community, that this would be a worthwhile thing for us to look at least as an option. I know we have a price cap on what we can spend on it, and sometimes these units will bump it into an area where we may not be affordable for us as a community. But I'd really, really like to, I wouldn't want to miss that opportunity to look at either that diesel electric engine component, or at least at the very least a hybrid type of situation with buses. And I know this company that you've outlined here does not offer that, but several of the other manufacturers do. Chrysler, Bluebird, and Thomas, and all of those have those options available.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Mr. Romanko?
Yes, we can certainly look at various options. In terms of pulling this report, we had some discussions with a dealer in terms of a diesel engine, and his recommendation based on the nature of our driving, the type of driving in around town, not long haul driving, also the number of operators that we have, not very sophisticated operators, and also the diesel engine is one that's pretty finicky to maintain. Their suggestion was to take a look at a gas engine. So certainly we can look at other options. Looking at our fleet, we did look at hybrids, but in terms of the costs, certainly think something we'll take a look at. But we did look at the diesel engine, or diesel power plants specifically.
Okay. Thank you. Anything further? So I guess we'll be looking for a motion to defer then. Is there a time frame on this, Director?
As per the funding agreement with the gas tax, we have it till the end of December to do this. Okay. With the weather, though, and the windows, we may ask for an extension depending on how we get that settled out.
Sure. So we're quite safe to defer this then?
My sense is we're safe to defer. We, again, given the research that Councillor Rhodes has done, maybe we'll have to sacrifice some size for some efficiencies. And that's what we will bring back to council.
Okay. Councillor Cromwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This wouldn't affect the Windows aspect of it, though, if it's deferred. Windows is going ahead.
Councillor Ryan?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Question really about the amount. Is what is the total amount that we received, the grant, $195,000?
It's $195 and $800.
Right. So, and how would you apportion those roughly between the windows and the vehicle?
As per the agreement, it was $120,000 for the windows, $75,000 for the bus.
Okay, thank you.
So rather than we're going ahead with the window program, we'll have a report back for our next council meeting, first meeting in December. I probably should have a resolution. Correct? Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Ryan, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks a lot, Director Davis. Next item under business 3, Magnolia Boulevard, a report from our Director of Operational Services, Mr. Stett.
I think you've got pretty well everything in front of you. This goes back to 2006. We widened the road in 2006. We received a letter from the homeowner in 2008. We replied, unfortunately, unofficially, that the area in question was a boulevard and it was the responsibility of the homeowner. And I guess he came back to this council. I wrote another report on April 1st, and I wrote another report for today. So basically, as far as I'm concerned, what it says here, it is a boulevard. There's other people in town that have had the same situation, that have dealt with it. You'll see from the pictures that I've included in one of the reports, they came to the town asking for permission to build walls to make their steep banks or steep boulevards a little more aesthetic or functional. So at this point, that's where we stand.
And you have some recommendations here?
Well, the recommendation is, like I say, I'm just reporting facts, and like I say, my recommendation would be we treat it as a boulevard and such.
Follows under the
bylaw, yes.
standard.
That's
treatment
exactly right.
boulevard. Okay, thank you, Mr. Doucette. Question, Councilor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So when we widened Magnolia, I'm just wondering if you could fill me in on what happened there. Did we alter the slope, make it steeper, or
No,
change it?
what we did is we widened the road and then we build the wall up. The blocks that you see there was put in by us, the town, but the slope itself was kept at the same slope. It was brought back, but kept at the same slope.
But what did it look like before? How did it terminate on
Basically,
on the
right to the
road?
road. There was no blocks or nothing.
And was erosion a factor then?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
Like I say, it's been there for, 5 years now, and we had some pretty big storms over those 5 years, and definitely there's a little bit of gravel that gets onto the road, but nothing there's no washouts or anything of that sort.
Sorry, just one more question. When the homeowner bought the property, was it altered in any way at that time, the current homeowner? I'm not familiar with what it used to be.
I'm afraid I can't answer. I'm not sure about that part of it. I know he built a new home on it, and if he raised it, I can't recall. I don't.
But the actual slope was there.
That slope was there for forever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Councilor Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ron, I have a couple of questions, too. I remember we talked about this once or twice. The property line for the homeowner, is it at the top of the slope, or does it come down?
It's about a third of the way down.
Third of the way down.
That's
okay.
right. Yeah. So 2/3 of that bank basically would be boulevard, which is us.
Okay. Right. I remember at the time we talked about it, and the answer was that our traffic bylaw says that people are responsible for the boulevards, and in fact that is correct. They are. But I did look at the and I asked a question at that time. Well, it's one thing to maintain a boulevard, but who, in fact, landscapes it? Who's the initial landscaper of the boulevard? And I think at one point I had asked for, I think in our, you'd included this on April the 20th of 2009, our committee of the whole, the actions were to
take pictures and
take pictures and review various vegetative things. But I was still plagued by that question of whose responsibility it is, and when I looked at the traffic bylaw that you're referring to, it indeed says in section 18.1 that maintenance is the responsibility of the owner of the real property that is adjacent. But then it talks about what the person should not do in section 19, and it says they should not plant or install any landscaping other than grass, turf, flowers, and bedding plants or low shrubs without a prior, and they can't do anything else than those without the prior written permission of the CAO. So really, they're basically restricted to putting grass and shrubs and ornamental things like that, and yet we're being told that they should put landscaping, cloth, and rock, and which they really have to do with the permission of the of the CAO, or else we're supposed to do it. I'm still not totally comfortable as to who takes the initiative to landscape, however you define landscaping, a boulevard in the initial stage after some construction or reconstruction has taken place. But in any event, it would seem that, I don't know if it's implicit that he has our permission to put that, but I still feel that we have some kind of an obligation to do something with this as a follow-up to the construction or the reconstruction of that road. So,
But the slope was there. We haven't done anything to the slope. We cleaned it up a little bit where we could put the blocks in, but that was about the extent of what we've done.
Mr. Emanko, please.
I think if you look at the community, you see a lot of slopes in the community, and it would take a lot for the municipality to be responsible for developing the landscaping on those slopes. And I think there's a kind of a natural acceptance of point of principle that the boulevard is a boulevard. The rationale for the limitation on what can be planted on those boulevards is more a liability issue. Some people may want to put large rocks into their boulevards for decorative rocks and things like that. That would be a liability to the town, and that's why the list of enabling vegetation to be provided. I think without seeing the official wording in that section 19, it sort of provides me the sense that it is the responsibility of the person to look after the boulevards. In fact, if they want to provide a more decorative front to their property, in the community, if you look around, you see a large number of retaining walls and to support the properties, and those are the types of things that get permission, that easily come from permission, because yes, we do want to have a more attractive community. And speaking again in defense of what Ron says, the slope did not change, so the responsibility did not change in terms of the boulevard.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chadsey, I see.
I do. In looking after boulevards, is there a liability that we're facing for boulevards such as this, and there are others in town? We're attempting to maintain that bank. Could cause some injury. Do we still maintain that liability issue, or?
I can't see that. Like I said, there's a responsibility. It's no different than the slope at McDonald's or the church or anywhere else.
Yeah, and I'm actually referring to all of them.
Yes, yeah. I
Not
can't
just
see it.
this, yeah.
That would be more of a legal question out of my jurisdiction.
Yeah, just Councillor Chadsey is looking at me. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer either. I guess we'd have to track down that liability aspect of as well. If you take a look at things that are in the public area, the public's got the liability for that particular area. However, the responsibility for the maintenance of that particular area by bylaw is passed to the residents. So they, in fact, are assuming some responsibility as well for the bylaw areas in front of their properties. It makes it a little bit more complex when you have slopes like this, but my sense is that from a point of principle, it'd probably be retained the same legal responsibilities. And in this case, yes, we would be a named third party, but so would the property owner if something came about.
I guess when I'm looking at this, and I can have some empathy with the landowner there, the property owner, but I think it's a real slippery slope if we start doing boulevards. I think there'll be a lineup for people that would like us to do their boulevards, and we'll soon be talking about the degree of the slope, and there'll be many other ways that we'll be trying to determining where we do and what we don't do. And I think we have to go back to the intent of the Boulevard bylaw, what that means and what we do. And I just hope we're going to be real careful if we are entertaining crossing. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the points that the owner makes in the correspondence is the difficulty and the danger that he feels in getting out onto that slope, given its sharp, it is fairly what would you say, acute angle, I guess. So I don't recall whether the last time we discussed this there was any kind of an estimate of the cost of raising that, the wall a little higher and backfilling on our portion of the boulevard. That is.
I believe there was a dollar figure printed with that.
Yeah.
The top layer has to come off and then add another block and then put this one back on. It was a pretty expensive ordeal. You can't just add to what we have there. And as the higher you go, the more technical it gets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somewhere I've seen that number, and I'm thinking $20,000. I don't want to be quoted on that, but I have seen the number.
Yeah, the problem is the fact that, like I said, that road that's already there has to be removed because of the connection, and this was a top layer.
Right.
There's no little knobs on it to make the connection.
So you have to put a second layer in.
You have to remove what's there.
A new second layer, and then
exactly
make
right.
that the new top.
That's exactly
I get
right.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
I think they're different blocks from the
That's right.
manufacturer.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Council, what are your wishes, Councillor Cronmiller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I be prepared to make the motion of option 3. As per past decisions and bylaws, the responsibility is to the adjacent property owner. I'll speak to it.
Oh,
Just a seconder.
if there's a seconder, please. Seconder, Councillor Chadsey for seconding. Speaking to the motion, Councillor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In this case, I note that the road was done and widened in 2006. The property owner purchased the property, I believe, in 2008. So he was aware of the bank and the slope and all that was there when he purchased the property. And I think there's a responsibility on each owner of the property to deal with their property as they see fit. And if they think things need doing to it when they purchase it, they would make those decisions and decide appropriately what they would like to do or not do. And they would investigate with the town if they felt that there was a slope that needed repair before building a home or before purchasing the property. And in this case, purchased the property, built a home, and that's all good. And then came to us asking us to add money to a situation that I think he's responsible for. And the boulevard is there, but there's still a slope above even the boulevard that would be his responsibility, and he could build a wall at that height if he wished and do something there with his own property. I mean, there's many things that he can do, and it's unfortunate, but we live in a town that's built on the sides of a valley and mountains, and goes with the territory of the banks that we have, and have to take responsibilities for those if we purchase property with a slope.
Anything further, Councillor Chadsey? Seconder?
My heart goes out to anybody who has a slope like that and has to figure out how to maintain it, because everybody wants their property to look the best that it can. And however, we can't be the problem solver for everything. There are a number of slopes out there, and the reason that we have bylaws that residents look after the boulevards is for that very reason, that we just don't have the tax dollars to tend to all of the boulevards and everyone's different ways of landscaping them and caring for them. This is the way it was when the property was purchased, and it was identified by the property owner at that time. And for that reason, I'm going to support the motion that we not take any more action.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Motion is carried. Option 3. Thanks, Mr. Doucette. Next on the, just in case the Jack Pine Lane traffic issue is not on the agenda for today. I have an agenda that has it on there, so just in case. Anyway, it was going to be in addition to the agenda, but staff needs more time on that, so it'll be coming up at our next meeting. That brings us into the report portion of the meeting, and looking for paying some bills in our general fund. The cash requirements in the general fund, $473,759.50. Is there any input on that? That would be adopted by consensus, please. In the Sun Bowl account, in the amount of $18,301.35. Is there any input from council? Adopted by consensus. And finally, payroll accounts in the amount of $136,886.22, received into the minutes by consensus. Item number 2, in the September income statements for the town of Osoyoos and Sun Bowl, we have a report from the Director of Financial Services, Mr. Zackel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before you is the income statements to September 30th for both the town and Sun Bowl Arena. There are 3 areas of significance to note still for within the town, and one of the items is still our development and building service fees are still at an all-time low, and I'm estimating, well, it's not estimating, it's exact, a deficit of $180,500 to September 30th. We're also seeing from the expenditure side, we're not spending as much money, but not in the same type of ratio. Landfill tipping and septage fees is another one that we've seen a sharp reduction in sources of revenue come in. The landfill tipping fees is more part and parcel with the drop in development and building services fees, because that's where we saw a significant amount of tipping fees come in from previous years. And I'm estimating that at $70,700 as of September 30th as well. Thirdly, not as much of an issue as it used to be, and that's our interest earned. We're seeing a small increase to prime, but we still are resulting in a deficit of $13,000 in our income earned to September 30th. Basically, with all of these shortfalls in revenue, we are seeing there's a number of our expenditure accounts that are projected to be under budget that will assist and account for our current shortfall in revenues. In addition, there is a number of capital projects that are being deferred at this present time that were projected to be used from operating costs to proceed. So there's a number of landfill capital projects that we've delayed because of the lack in source of revenues right now. And thirdly, worst case scenario is we do have our surplus from airport or sale lands we don't want to utilize. We can help it, but it is available for us in a worst case scenario. Mm-hmm. This is presented to council for receive.
Any questions of Mr. Zackel in financial rates?
How are we looking?
Well, other than those 3 areas, we're looking fantastic. But, we are seeing a positive outlook for 2011 in development services because of the Oasis building. I mean, that's going to be a big improvement to us. Still doesn't bring us up to the levels that we used to experience. But that projected with 50 single-family housing starts from what development services is projecting, that's at least getting us back in the right direction. There as well, interest and all that kind of stuff. I don't see that as being much of an issue. We're seeing a bump in the road, and hopefully this bump doesn't last too long. We fix it.
Thanks, Mr. Zackel. Motion to receive, Councillor Cronmiller, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Chadsey for discussion. Oh, no? Okay. Any discussion from council? All in favor? Opposed, carried. That was a in favor of motion.
Yes,
for
it
Pam,
was.
It was. Okay, thank you. The next item then is the building permit report for the month of October 2010. Report from the planning technician, which I will be presenting. Well, following up with what Mr. Zackel said in the projections, this has got to be the strongest month I've seen this year. I see 2 new houses and a new commercial warehouse building in the industrial park for a total of $1,062,000, which bringing the total to date for 2010 to $3,824,000. So here we go, biggest month yet. So let's hope that we are on the uptick and we're going to see a lot more of this. I need a motion to receive this, please. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Chadsey. Discussion. All in favor, opposed, carried. That would move us right into the committee reports, and there's just some draft minutes here. I'll ask Councillor Cronmiller for a brief input.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This was a meeting from the Lake Recreational and Commercial Use Task Force that was held on October the 20th, and we're receiving the minutes today. Our next meeting is on Monday at the 29th, I think it's.
Yes.
It's Monday, 29th of this month at 8:30 in the morning, and we'll be meeting at that time and moving ahead with this task force. So these are minutes, and I would move they be received for information.
Thank you. And that seconder, Councillor Rhodes. No further discussion. All in favor? They have been received. I just looking forward to this LRCU getting task force getting going here. There's a lot of energetic people there representing very divergent point of views on the lake and what should be happening with it. So I think it's going to be quite a lively group. Good luck in your endeavors, and I hope you can get something here. So for our recreational zoning in the lake. It's a big task, and like I say, there's a lot of energy in the group, so I'm sure they'll do well. Item number 5, reports number 5, a report from the CAO. Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Fairly short report today, not that it hasn't been busy, but all of department heads certainly have been busy in our budgeting processes, so that's consumed a lot of time, and with everything falling on the laps of our finance department to try and pull all those numbers together. So that's been very much in the forefront in the last couple of weeks. In the community development area, they've been working with trying to pull together the community sustainability planning process. A lot of discussions with the Whistler Center in terms of the formation of the contract and the advisory committee. Also some meetings with Destination Osoyoos and the Tourism Action Committee in around our report that we're going to need to access our resort municipality funding in the future. Public Works reports that the 87th Street project is now complete, and with just the paperwork remaining to report on the grant, and we're happy that we could get this project all wrapped up before the snow flies, so we didn't have to put up with the gravel street during the winter. The water meter project has been started, the commercial water meter installation project, so that's a good start to that. And also, they're just waiting for the wind to stop blowing so that they can start making the town look like Christmas. So we're looking forward towards that. So myself, just a couple things to move ahead was certainly the business plan, finishing off all the information that's been pulled together so that I can bring the business plan to council for the next 3 years. And also the Northwest Sewer Project has consumed some time, not only in the securing of right-of-ways for the phases in the future, but also planning for the operational aspects of Phase 1. That's all I have to report today.
Great, thanks, Mr. Romanko. It seems like all the business is a little bit light today. We don't have a lot of real meat in the meeting, but that works well for us too. Into councilors' reports. First, Councilor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I won't scare everybody with a long rant again today. I'm going to reserve that for my next report on December 2nd, I believe. Just wanted to send out a real heartfelt thank you to the several hundreds of people that attended our November 11th service at the Sonora Center. You know, for our community to pull together and that many folks of all ages, right from the elderly down to small children, what a wonderful thing in our community. And everyone knows the importance of this day, or at least I hope you do. And I see a lot of that message being passed on to some of the younger members of our community. I'm going to suggest that there was probably 60 to 75 individuals that were preteens at the service. Once again, a great thing. In 2010, we lost our last Canadian World War I vet. These are literally a dying breed of people. Not many World War II vets left in our community, and certainly all across Canada. It's a diminishing legacy that needs to be paid attention to. This is an important day for those people in our community, and you know, they sacrificed a lot, and I just really wanted to thank our community. I'm thinking that we had probably 500 people out, and that certainly rivals almost any other function that we have as a community, and good for you, and thank you very much. It was just an awesome day, and that'll be my report for today, except for one other thing. We're entering into the Christmas season, and I'd like everybody to think about the $36 million figure that would make up what people spend in our community. And a large portion of that, less than half of it, is actually spent in our community, which means that the other half, several millions of dollars, are spent in other communities for a wide variety of different reasons. If folks in our community could even increase their spending in our community by 10%, I got to tell you, that's a lot of money. It would help out a lot of businesses in this community, provide some good quality employment that's sustainable. That's a key word, because I know that some of the other councils will be talking about that in depth. Very important thing, and I'll have some more information on that. I have 10 things that I feel that we can do, and I'll be doing that at our next meeting.
I can hardly wait. Thanks, Councilor Rhodes. Councilor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I, like Councilor Rhodes, I'm going to save my comments about the sustainability conference that several of us attended till the next time. But I did want to thank the taxpayers for giving me the opportunity to attend there. Just a couple of quick announcements. First of all, I'd like to welcome Taslim Mauji, who's the new reporter for the Osoyoos Times, and so we're happy to have her here, filling in the shoes of her predecessor, and covering our activities. Also, to let you know that the organization in town called the Community Assistance for Seniors is going to have its pilot launch this coming Thursday at 10 a.m. at the Senior Center here in Osoyoos, and there'll be refreshments following, and then line dancers and a soup and bun. So if you bring $3.50 along, you can stay for lunch. And this is an initiative that I talked about previously, and that Councillor Chadsey and I were involved with at certain points in their formation. And they are going to provide basically a transportation and a companion system for seniors in the community. So try to get there and learn more about it. And there's posters around town that tell you how to reach them as well. So I just wanted to talk just briefly about winter. I know that's kind of kind of a word that we don't like to use because it isn't officially winter yet, but it's certainly feeling like it. I want to talk about two things that are part of winter: snow and keeping warm, particularly when you're in your car. So I've looked at some of the bylaws of the community, and I realized that we have a really unique way of making sure that the snow stays out of town and on the hills, so that it's good for skiers and so on. And it's really an original 3P partnership. It's a partnership between the public government, ourselves, and the citizens. And you can sort of encapsulate it by saying that it's we plow, you shovel. And so you're getting exercise, you're getting outdoor fresh air, and you're also maintaining a really safe community, which is what our bylaws are always trying to do, to maintain a really pleasant, safe place to live. And I'll just tell you, because very few people, I think, except us, get to read these bylaws. We're all, you can see, we're all a little out of sort of off balance today because we don't have any to deal with. But it says that if you own property or a retail establishment, that you have 24 hours in residential areas to clear your ice or snow or whatever, and you have until 10 a.m. on the day of the snow if you're commercial. So some communities have come up with a nice little motto like "Be nice, clear your ice," which just kind of again tells you what we'd like you to do to make it a pleasant place for yourself and for other people who want to visit your store or walk in the neighborhood. The other thing is about keeping warm. We all want to keep warm in our cars, and I saw some interesting things as I was walking about, and I was all bundled up, and I had my still using my scarf from the Olympics and trying to keep that spirit alive. And I saw a car. I saw several with people sitting in them, waiting for someone. And I have to tell you that there's no place in town, no public building, no store, no house that has people in it that isn't heated. So if you're waiting for somebody, just wait inside. You don't have to wait inside your car, but wait inside the store or the house or wherever, or the doctor's office. And I even saw a car that was running on the street and it didn't have anybody in it. So I can't quite figure that one out. But I was tempted. I have to tell you, I was tempted to get in and see if I could drive this car. But I didn't. But I might do that sometime. So don't let your car running on the street. Councillor Cronmiller's looking at me because I think he's sort of feeling that in his role he still has some responsibility to apprehend people who take cars without permission. But I think I'm just exaggerating a bit, Councillor Cronmiller. So that's my remark and remarks today, and I'll be back next time with a little more extended report.
Great, thank you very much. And that sustainability conference in Kelowna was absolutely fantastic. There'll be some good reports coming. I believe there was 129 presenters over 3 days, and it was just chock-a-block full of good information. And I was excited about it myself. Councillor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I didn't really give you a bad time about the vehicle because I guess I can't use my remote starter anymore.
Not if I'm around.
Well, I had the opportunity to attend a different conference in the last few weeks, and I attended the Thompson Okanagan Tourism Association Summit, and it was at the Sparkling Hills Resort and Spa just south of Vernon. It was a really interesting one as well. It dealt with the tourism throughout the Okanagan Valley, and excuse me, I put up with that today. We had tourism people from up and down the valley, from here in Osoyoos all the way up to Sun Peaks, Clearwater, covering that whole area. It was really something to have the exchange and networking that was accomplished at this summit. Now, some of the highlights is there was a Dr. Roger Carter who is from Great Britain, and he spoke on tourism business owners and leaders and their diligence in researching their target markets, finding out about their competitors, and developing their destinations so they can create a compelling brand that attracts visitors. Well, I think all about our attractive brand on the wall there and how well we've done with it, and I think that was certainly a highlight. We also had a fellow from the University of Washington Digital Media Program, Hansen Hussein, and he talked about the social media and how it's crucial for tourism directors and leaders to use social media. And to me, it was a real prime example of this was about the next day, I think. I was reading in the newspaper on the computer about this couple from Edmonton that had been to Las Vegas with their young baby, and the baby managed to soil his pants, for lack of a better description, 20 minutes before the airplane was to leave. And as a result, the airplane gave away their tickets because Mom went to change the baby's diaper and they wouldn't hold the seat because she took too long to change the diaper. And so I thought, I was glad I wasn't the other way around. I wouldn't have wanted to be on the airplane with a soiled diaper coming on. So, at any rate, with the parents, they asked for a refund. They were refused, and so they were offered a voucher, and they weren't happy with that. So they went on the internet and opened a Facebook page about the incident, and within a day, the airline provided their financial $1,000 that they were after. And it just showed you how the social media works. And so, in a tourist community such as ours, what I would say to people in our community is be careful what you put on the internet, because people will read it all over the world, and if it's not positive, be careful of it, because it can be negative, and then it's a real negative. And so, it's really important to be word what you put there carefully. So it was a good, interesting thing on social media that we had there as well. So yes, it was a great conference, and I really did enjoy it. The Destination Soyuz, as some of you have seen, received an award for their innovative marketing and promotion on tourism for our community. So that was a really good thing as well. And last but not least, I saw a picture in the paper the other day of our MLA and the transportation supervisor on the new construction north of town, and mentioning $1 million grant and how we were going to build a new trail along that piece of highway and connect it with other trails. And when I saw that, I thought $1 million is a pretty good deal. I could use some of that here, but besides that, I wanted to thank the mayor for that. I'm sure that he is the one that spearheaded that $1 million, because I can remember a meeting that we had with transportation where the mayor said that path isn't wide enough. We want a good path. We want one for bikes and that people can use. And you kind of, yeah, right, this is really going to. Well, it did. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that. That's my report.
Thanks, Councillor Crown Miller. Finally, Councillor Chadsey, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Well, usually when you're last, everybody else has spoken about the things that you thought you might want to talk about. Well, apparently, Councillor Ryan and Councillor Rhodes decided that they were going to have a more in-depth report about our sustainability conference. And I would encourage everybody to listen, because they're going to have really good facts. They're going to digest everything. It was very hard to take everything in, like Mayor Wells said, 120 plus presenters. We were on the go 7 o'clock in the morning, sometimes till 7 o'clock at night. And we talked about sustainability, and we talked and talked and talked about all of the problems on the planet, how much we have destroyed the planet in the last 65 years. And what I want to narrow it down to is us here in Osoyoos. I can't see us relying on the federal government to do anything really. And our provincial government right now, you know, we can't rely on them. On the local level, your tax dollars are going to have to be spent while we develop a climate action plan, carbon neutral, sustainability plan. We have to worry about our GHGs, our greenhouse gas. We have to worry about our landfill. We have to worry about the health and the quality of the lake. We have to worry about all of our renewable resources. And so what I'm going to do is just break it all down to what I can do in my house and what every one of us can do in our house, and forget about us thinking, well, what does it matter? I mean, what I do, the abuse that I do to the planet is nothing compared to the rest of the planet. So anything I do to help isn't going to make any difference. And everything I do won't make a difference. But if 2 people do it, and then 4, and then 8, if we start here, at least here in the Osoyoos, we can hold our head up and say, you know what, we're doing what we can. Our council is going, and our staff are going to make sure we deal with the legislative process, which is very dry and not of any interest to anybody. But in our own homes, we can turn our lights off, we can recycle, we can unplug the coffee maker, we can stop using pesticides. And I'm only going to do 2 facts. The first fact is, as it was pointed out to us, there are 6 million people on Earth, and by and large, we take care of our waste through a sewage system. There are 12 million animals on Earth. And for whatever reason, we think that their waste is a wonderful way to grow things. So just think of all the waste that's being absorbed into the planet from the animals, double the amount of humans. The other thing that was talked about was the fact that August is the month when the planet stops being able to produce the renewable resources. So in other words, we on Earth, by the month of August, have used up all of the planet's ability to replenish. And between August and December, we simply take from the planet that can never, ever, ever be restored or replenished or regrown. So it's like tax date, which is sometime in late June. August is the month when we start the abuse, when the Earth can no longer recharge itself. So I'm just asking all of us to take care of our own home. Let's be proud of our own home, proud of our community, proud of the council and staff who will do the legislated, and then pray to God that the province and the feds and the international take care of the planet. On another, I just have one more thing. This is Movember. I see an awful lot of mustache people, and I thank you. What I wanted to say was, during Breast Cancer Month, a lot of men wear pink shoes and pink shirts. A lot of football players play with a pink football. They really buy into it. And I know that you men are not getting a whole lot of support from us women. We're not growing a mustache to kind of show our solidarity. So I just want to say that I thank you. I'm with you on it. That's my report.
Thanks, Councillor Chadsey. I guess for my report, I'm going to pick up a bit from where Councillor Crummiller was when he was thanking me and my efforts on that hike and bike trail. I think it's just absolutely fantastic that this thing got put in. I'm going to pass those congratulations along to ex-mayor and current MLA John Slater. I raised a big ruckus. There was no doubt about that. I thought sometimes at times it may be too big of a ruckus, but it did get heard. They understood the need, and I'm looking at what's needed now for that path. And we're so close to being a done deal, to having a continuous path from Osoyoos, from the border, from the golf course high school area, all the way to Vincor north of Oliver, 4 miles north of Oliver. We're going to have that ability soon. I think our chief financial man, Mr. Zach, will be able to ride his bike to work, and I know he's just waiting for that opportunity. But no, it's just such a great boost to our tourism business to be able to have that. I think we can do a lot of things with it, and there's a few spark gaps out there that between the town and Regional District A, Mark Pendergraft, we can get some of that worked out and a little more funding. I think we've got a continuous path, and that'll be a really big day. Also attended that TOTA conference at Thompson Okanagan Tourist Association, and again, following along, hats off to Destination Osoyoos. They shared the top award with Black Hills Winery. Destination Osoyoos got it for their promotion of the film Gunless, and Black Hills got it for their that spring film festival they do, the Celebrity Wine Festival that they do. And they're really doing a fine job of bringing a lot of people to town in that shoulder season. Ingrid Jarrett, who's a manager of Watermark Hotel, she's the new chair of TOTA for the whole area, and Chris Bauer from Inkoneep Resort, the trailer park over there, actually Inkoneep Campsite, I guess. He's on the board of directors, so. We're well represented, and that representation usually means that there's a couple of good nods coming our way. So congratulations to all those folks. Also, kudos to Councillor Ryan. They wrapped up their live theater presentation in both towns, and I have to say, I hear it was an absolute screaming success. But I actually didn't get to attend it. I'm really upset that I didn't. But this year, the Oliver dates, the Osoyoos dates, I was just booked right out, and I just couldn't make it. So, but I did hear great reports coming back from the public. One of them was, well, maybe he should give up his day job. So congratulations, and for the rest of the crew, and I'm sure you had a good time doing it. The hike and bike celebrity. I did have a brief meeting with Alex Adamanenko coming through, our local MP. Always a pleasure to meet with Alex. He's just such an interesting man, such a gentleman, and met with him and his executive assistant and just kicked around some of the things that are affecting our town. Attended was supposed to be a surprise dinner for Chris Scott from the Osoyoos Indian Band, and he's been their CAO for, 12 years or 16 years. He's been the main guy over there as that Osoyoos Indian Band grew to the organization that it is today. Of course, with Chris, there was no way it was a surprise. I think he knew about it the day it was announced. But it was really good. A lot of people came out from all over British Columbia and Canada to wish him the best, as he's actually not working for the Osoyoos Indian Band anymore, but going to do a lot of consulting for them. So he's still going to be around and be in action. And it was really interesting to note that there was 3 mayors there. So there was Mayor Tom Shields was there and spoke, and Mayor John Slater, ex-Mayor John Slater was there, and he spoke, and I was there as the current mayor. So it shows the relationship we have with the Osoyoos Indian Band, and that's very special, and it really serves us well. People always look to Osoyoos, and everywhere I go, people are looking at Osoyoos, what we do. And we have that moment of recognition, where they recognize us for many different things, and again, our associations are very special. I think that's probably enough. It's been very busy. I've been enjoying it from before I went to UBCM. To now has been just a whirlwind between UBCM and conferences, and slipped away, had a holiday, got married. It's been a very busy time of my life, So I'm just going to relax here and do a little cocoon before Christmas. So thanks a lot. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Chadsey, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor. We are adjourned. Good afternoon, folks.